Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Just me today, Jerred Moon. I am the founder of Garage Gym Athlete, and I'm going to do something different today. So coming up here shortly is my oldest son's birthday. So he's about to be 10 years old, which is, a big milestone for him. And for Emily and I as parents, that's a decade of parenting. And I know a lot of people out there listening are much further along in that game, and some people are far behind us. So I do have 3 kids, if you didn't know, and William being 10 is the oldest, and my youngest is just turned 4 years old. And then Graham at 7, soon to be 8. So that's the spread of my children. And the reason I'm talking about this stuff is shortly after William was born, I wrote an article called 51 Health and Fitness Rules for My Son. And obviously I only had 1 kid at the time, and I wrote this for him, and I want to go over them today. I'm going to try and go over as many of them as I can today in this podcast episode, and just see if, kind of on the fly edit these and see if I still stand by them. Ultimately, this episode would be for anyone out there listening with kids, and then also for my son, William, and my other son, Graham. I think I might actually need to work on an entire other article for my daughter, as I just feel like the vanity and fitness and beauty and all of those things it's a little bit different for females, but a lot of these would still apply. And so the big reason I wrote this is back when I wrote it, when William was first born, is just the fact that I did a lot of things the wrong way starting out, and I've been into fitness for a very long time. I started at a very early age, and that's how I've been into it for so long. But when you're younger, you get a little too focused on, at least in my case, muscle growth, trying to be a certain way, look a certain way, and it can become obsessive in nature, so much so that it can cause kind of like psychological distress or problems. And you're just not focused on the right areas. You're not focusing on anything health related, really, when the goal is just muscle growth and at the expense of health. And that goes not just for my exact case. If your only goal is performance, going faster, lifting things harder, that's your only goal all the time, you're going to end up in a bad position. So when health is not the goal, the wheels are going to fall off at some point, either psychologically, physiologically, you're going to get injured, something like that. So I'm going to go over these, and hopefully you guys get something out of it. I know it's, like I said, very different episode from our normal, but I thought it'd be great to do here coming up. Also, William's birthday pretty much marks the anniversary of the start of Into 3 Fitness. Technically, it started, 6-ish months before he was born. But, things didn't really get serious until after he was born, and I started to really pick things up. So it really is right around when he was born when this company also started. All right, so let's just get started into it. I'm going to go each one, add kind of my two cents, and keep moving forward. All right, so number 1, the girls worth being with don't really care about the size of your biceps. I think that still applies. I think when you are looking for a woman, just in my opinion, you're going to want one that's in it for a lot of other reasons other than the physical attraction, right? I think that's part of it, obviously, in any relationship. But if that's their only reason into it, and you guys are in for it, like Emily and I had almost no overlap in health and fitness. We got together for a lot of other like big picture reasons. We have a lot of core foundational beliefs that are the same, and then we ended up overlapping kind of on the nutrition side. And I think that that's been really important, as opposed to had I gotten to the fitness industry and found somebody else who was really into fitness. I don't know. I just don't know if that relationship would have went as well. So I think having really strong foundations aside from something that's aesthetic or whatever. And I think that's self-explanatory for a lot of people. Number two, 99% of the supplements out there aren't worth it. 100% still stick by that one. I think most supplements are completely unnecessary. If you've been listening to the podcast more recently, I'm kind of trying to get away from even taking protein. I just don't think that any of these supplements are worth it in the long run. Just eat real food. And that goes 100% true for any of the things out there that are proving to get things done faster for you, whether that's weight loss or muscle gain. The bigger the promise, the more dangerous the supplement. All right, number three, don't worry too much about getting big. I kind of covered this. I'm always trying to stress to my kids these days about being well-rounded. So they're obviously around fitness all the time. They know what I do, and they see it, and they get impressed when they see some like dude, back squat 1,000 pounds or something. If I watch a YouTube video on that or something, and they might ask me, like, why can't you do that? And I always explain to them, like, I want to be right in the middle. I want to be stronger than all the runners and endurance people out there. And I want to be faster and have more endurance than all the strong guys out there. I want to be right in the middle. And that's always been my goal. And they find, they like that, they are liking that. And I stress that to them all the time. And I also let them know, kind of like, when you are on the outside, like extreme endurance or extreme strength, how that comes at a cost. And they're fairly young, and I'm still explaining these things to them, but I'd say don't worry too much about getting big, but I'd say don't worry too much about like maxing out any one area, because they may have no interest in gaining muscle. But my only real hope is that they're interested in fitness and health at all. Number four, fitness should be fun. Make it that way and keep it that way. I still 100% agree with that. Like, you don't need to force yourself to do things that you hate to stick to a fitness routine. And I think that's something that gets lost in the mental toughness side of things. People are like, no, you just got to force yourself to do it. And it's true to some degree. There's going to be that self-discipline that's there. But if walking is fun for you, or tennis is fun for you, or riding your bike is fun for you, if other things are fun for you, then like, who cares about what you can back squat or how fast you can run or how big your biceps are? None of that stuff's going to matter. Just do something that's fun that you can do for a very long period of time. Number five, strength is the key to being good at everything from running to rugby. That's absolutely true. If you get interested in any sport whatsoever, you're going to need to get strong. The stronger you get, the better you will be at that sport, even if it's just ping pong. Number six, learn to juggle. It helps more with athleticism than you think. And I think if I were to go over this again, I think juggling is important. I think balancing is important. A lot of those things, like we have a slack line in our backyard that our kids can utilize, that I utilize, balance boards. Like, I think balance and coordination are often overlooked, especially with quote unquote athletes. If you're an athlete where being coordinated is an obvious choice, like you just have to be coordinated, that makes sense. But if you are just a fitness athlete, it actually involves very little coordination, and it's something that needs to be trained. And I think it helps you a lot more later on in life, and something that you absolutely should pursue. Number seven, don't specialize in anything unless specialization is fun or will lead to scholarships. And, I'm just kind of like, some of these I'm kind of messing around. I would love for my kids to get scholarships. Ultimately, since I don't have to pay for their college, right? But I don't really care. Like, I just want them to pursue their passions and have fun in that process. But yeah, I'd say don't specialize. And to my point, don't specialize unless like you've gotten to that level and it's time to specialize. And, we've kind of gone over that in the book Range, and I try to introduce my kids to a lot of different sports. And I think that's really important. So not specializing 100%. Number 8, running isn't fun, but neither is taking out the trash, homework, or taxes, and they are all 100% necessary. I think running builds a lot of character. It's very easy for people to say running, they hate running. Yeah, I hear that all the time from other than people who are runners. I feel like everyone says they hate running. I've even said that I hate running. There's just so incredibly metabolically demanding, more so than most any other endurance activity out there. It builds a lot of mental toughness and character. So I don't think you need to be a runner, but being able to go run 3, 4, 5 miles, having that ability, I think it says a lot about an individual. Number 9 says, get to know yourself by pushing yourself. Most never learn who they really are. And I think that's more true now than ever. We live in a very comfortable society, and you don't have to do almost anything. Like it's fairly easy to get by. And I'm talking about at the very bottom levels of like no one would consider you a success, but you are living. You've got your iPhone and you have a place to live, and whatever. Like you don't have to get out of your comfort zone at all. And I also don't think that there are a lot of places to get outside of your comfort zone these days. So I think um, effort in and of itself is a philosophy. Um, and being able to practice that philosophy on a daily basis through physical expression is really important. So you get to know who you are every time you push yourself a little bit more. And this can be in a matter of seconds, minutes. It can be the consistency, the daily over decades practice, but you're going to get to know yourself by pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone. And you are not set in stone, I think is probably what I would add to this. Because yeah, get to know yourself by pushing yourself kind of leaves it in a fixed mindset. Like if you find mental weakness when you are pushing yourself, or you find that person who doesn't want to do this thing anymore, you can change that. You can change that internal chatter. You can change who that person is. And so that's what I would add to this one is just because you find someone who's not as tough as you'd like to be when you're pushing yourself, it's okay. Change that conversation and keep pushing yourself to be different, to be better, even if it's only for a second, 2 seconds, 5 seconds. So get to know yourself by pushing yourself, but also know that you can change yourself. You are not fixed. Number 10, don't quit ever. I remember when I originally wrote this article 10 years ago, I got some pushback on that. Like it's bad to tell your children to not quit because like, what if they got hurt and they say they don't quit? Or like, this is the principle I think everyone should have. Like, don't quit. Just don't quit. If you've started it, finish it. And if you are in a race and you break your leg, okay, like stop the race, whatever, that's fine. But again, I'm not going to say that's okay. That's the caveat. That's the place that you're allowed to quit. I'm not giving that caveat. And I'm not going to give it now in looking at this again, because if you want to be the type of person who did, you were in a race and you sprained your ankle and you finished the race and you'd never done something like that and you had to walk and hobble for hours to finish, you might learn something about yourself that you didn't even know was there or possible. And so I'm going to stick with it. Don't quit ever. You can make those judgment calls on your own when you get to those situations, but you got to see things through. And for the most part, we're not talking about getting injured. And I think people know that. People would just like to find caveats. If you started something, you finish it. That's it. All right, number 11, I said keep an eye on the paleo diet. It's not perfect, but it has most of this nutrition thing figured out. So I was really big into paleo when I originally wrote this article. And I don't know if I would say paleo is the right way to go, but it's definitely not the wrong way to go either. The only real takeaways I have from nutrition at this point, this far into my career, is you have to pay attention to what you eat. And I do think the quality of your food is probably way more important than the quantity. So quality and quantity, like don't eat more than you should, and make sure everything that you do eat is of a high quality. And that would probably be like my best. If I had to change my nutrition stance, it would say something like that, as opposed to pointing to a specific diet. Because I don't know, like there's not necessarily anything wrong with the paleo diet, but it leaves out anything that's leaving out like big, large food groups for entirety, like the rest of your life. That might be bad, So things to look at. Just focus on quantity and quality. So 12, never become so sure of something that you quit accepting new ideas. It makes you old. I think that one's really big. As you can tell, some of these go outside of the fitness realm. I think that you should always be open to a new idea. And the second that you do close your brain to accepting, like I am no longer accepting input or data. I'm unwilling to change my mind about X, Y, or Z. I say it makes you old, and it doesn't matter if you're 20 years old when you do this or 80 years old when you do this. Once you're no longer to have a conversation about something that challenges your views, you've just kind of like shut down. Your personal growth is going to stop. It doesn't mean you need to accept someone's new ideas. Like I might have a particular religious belief. That doesn't mean I'm not open to having a conversation with someone who has the exact opposite view of mine and talking about it. And no point in that conversation would I be offended. It's just new ideas. We're talking about ideas. So yeah, don't stop. Don't quit accepting new ideas. I think that's really important. Number 13, I said get out in the sun daily. I think that's still really important. It's even one of the EO3 elements to this day. Focusing on getting that vitamin D, very important. Just do it in a smart way, is what I always say. I think 2 out of my 3 kids got my unfortunate level of pasty whiteness, inability to tan. One of them, Graham, my middle, looks like he'll be able to tan like his mom can. But yeah, so do it smartly. Like don't get excessive sunburns, but do get the vitamin D. Get out in the sun, get outside. Number 14, if jumping high and running fast happen to come naturally for you, don't take it for granted. And I think, looking back now, even 10 years further from this, those things did come naturally for me, and probably why I wrote it. I've always been able to jump higher than everyone else and run faster than most people, and those things were natural. And whether that is upsetting for people or whatever, like yeah, some things were natural. I had to work on them to make them better, but I always had like a slight edge with it without having to work on those things. And I did take them for granted. I did not really start pushing into sports very hard until it was probably too late for me to be truly good at anything. I played a lot of sports growing up, but I didn't get serious about any of them until much later. And then, comes to a point where you just really can't play sports anymore as you become an adult. Like it's just not possible. So if those things come naturally for any of my kids, I do want to help them pursue whatever they want to do, whether that's playing at a high level or just playing for a little bit. But I want to make sure they see those opportunities, and I don't feel like I took on those opportunities as much as I should have. 15, never get into a position where you have to diet. You are no longer in control if this happens. And this kind of goes into that daily over decades mindset. Let's do a little bit each day to where we're not having to do these big overhauls. When you are in a situation where you're like, I got to lose 150 pounds to be healthy, that's tough. And if you're listening to this and you're in that situation, I'm not saying that you've done everything wrong. Like I'm sure there are reasons that has happened, but now that should be the main thing. Like what you want should no longer be in control of your decision making. Fixing that problem should be in control. And so that's what I mean. Like if you truly want to be healthy and you're going to do it, that's now the controlling factor of your life. And that takes away a lot of flexibility. It's going to take a lot of discipline, which is already hard for people. So this is more of that daily over decades approach. Let's just do a little bit each day so we never get in a situation where we're just off the rails, awful. 16, you were doing the perfect squat at 8 months old, never lose it. I don't think this is as applicable. Like you have to work on a squat. Like all of my All of my children had a perfect squat. Almost probably anyone listening to this who had a baby, they had a squat. There's nothing special about your baby being able to squat. Their bones are different. Everything's different. They're able to hold that position. I think the point is don't lose your mobility. So if you need to stretch and work on those things, do so, and be able to hold that bottom of the squat position. I think that's really important. 17, don't make excuses as you get older, just work harder. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's easy to pile on excuses for why we're not taking action as we get older. And I'm very, very mindful of trying not to be that way at all times. So, it's easy to be like, well, I got this job or I have kids or like whatever. Like, and I see this a lot more on like people wanting to pursue like business ideas or things like that. They just like can't fit it in, or they have all these excuses on why they can't do it. And if you're okay with an excuse, like if you're okay with sitting around with an excuse, that's fine. But you have to know, like, you've selected that is a choice. Okay. Um, Relying or falling back on those excuses, that's a choice. So just work harder. That's the only thing. Work harder. Harder could be smarter. It doesn't always have to be more effort. It just means that you are able to keep trying. Try harder. Keep pushing. 18. At 19 months old, you love to jump, run, throw, push, pull, and play outside. Never change. 100%. And we try and facilitate this with our kids all the time. Go outside, throw a ball, ride your scooter, ride a bike, do something. And we always want them to be that way. And being as such, we have really strict rules on like video games and TV and everything else. But that's just a choice we've made. And I think if they can be interested in physical culture, that's going to go push them a far way. And not to say that being good at digital stuff doesn't have time and place and will help you in your career later, but there are plenty of opportunities for those things and learning those things. 19, never do anything that would compromise health for the sake of increased performance. I think I kind of started talking about this when I started this episode, is like, we don't need, like, I think I beat myself up about this because early on I never actually did it, but like I had the opportunity to take steroids at a young age. I'd say late teens, like 18, 19, something like that. And the fact that I even considered it just blows my mind that I even had, like, there was that was in my brain, like, yes, this is worth it. Ultimately I didn't, and I didn't, not because like I no longer could get access or anything. I'd never took any performance enhancer drug because I ended up like realizing like this is not worth it. Like I even made the decision back then, but the fact that I even let the conversation happen, I think surprises me. It should just be an ultimate, like, resounding no. Like nothing is worth it. Like nothing is worth it. Running however fast, lifting whatever, making it to this team, never ever will it be worth it because of the detriment that it could have on your health. 20, play new sports regularly. I think this is really important. You got to be involved in multiple different things. I think it'll make you a better athlete no matter what you're doing, where you're at. 21, play racquetball from time to time. It'll help with speed and footwork for any sport out there. So I actually picked up racquetball early on in high school, and there was a football coach, who recommended a lot of football players play racquetball because of the footwork specifically. And I thought it was an odd recommendation at the time, but the more I look at it now, like, there is a lot of footwork in racquetball when you're good at it. And I really feel like he should have like put that like caveat on there, because it's great for like a speed and agility standpoint, but when you learn how to properly step up to a backhand and the footwork required, and same with forehand and all of those things, it does take a lot of good footwork. So I think it's a good sport to add on to other sports, not necessarily as a standalone. So something that I would still agree with today. 22, lift something heavy at least 3 times a week. I think that this is just more true than it's ever been. And the only thing I would probably throw here is like, it doesn't have to be super heavy. maybe throwing an asterisk on there, but like lifting and gaining muscle mass is like the most important thing that you can do. Second would probably be like endurance, aerobic endurance. Everyone. This doesn't matter what your goal is, male, female, doesn't matter. You need to be lifting weights at least 3 times per week. All right, 23. I said squat racks, don't curl in them. And when squatting, do a full squat. So a lot on squats here. And this one was more just like kind of funny one. Like use a squat rack for what it's designed to do. And then do a full squat when you are squatting, none of that half squat thing. And a lot of my background coming up in fitness was at like Globo gyms and stuff and just seeing the most ridiculous things. So learn how to squat and do it right. And then the next one is the full squat is king. And I even wrote in parentheses, you can see this one is important. So I do think that squat and squat variations are very important, as opposed to, let's just say, like unilateral or isolation movements on the leg, like a leg extension, things like that. They don't do anything for your legs compared to what a full squat is. And I think younger people can like kind of stay away from the full squat out of maybe fear. So I'd say don't do that. Just learn how these things work and get it done. 25, so about halfway. Any bodily size changes are diet related. Fitness will help too. So that's just what everyone needs to know, I think. You can't outrun your fork. If you're overweight or you're not happy with if you're like overweight, you need to diet. And then the reason I said bodily changes, because if you're smaller and you want to gain muscle, it's your diet. The work only complements the diet. So that's where you want to be. Just make sure if you have a goal, any kind of aesthetic goal, it's going to be diet first, fitness second. 26, I said don't kip pull-ups, dips, or push-ups until you can do a lot of strict ones. So I also was introduced to CrossFit around this time. I didn't like kipping then. I've never liked kipping, but I'm not in the full camp of kipping is stupid and useless all the time. I think if you want a high metabolic demand from a workout, like a kipping pull-up would be fine, like in Murph or whatever. But I think where kipping pull-ups, kipping anything is when you can't do a lot of them already. Like if you want to kip some pull-ups, but you can do 20 strict, I don't care. Kip whatever you want to do, but if you can't do one strict pull-up and you want to kip, not for you. Work on the strict stuff first. 27, being bigger or stronger than your mother means nothing. She's tougher than you or I will ever be. And I think that's true. Definitely not backing out on that one. Very tough woman, my wife. And I think being a mother and giving birth is tough. And I think I have a lot of respect for all the moms out there. 28. This one ruffled some feathers. It always does. 28. Don't assume fitness advice from a Navy SEAL or member of the military is anywhere close to correct. I think you have to be a member of the military to realize these things, but like you just have to look at a member of the military, what their job is and what it is not. And I always try and point this out to people. Like a Navy SEAL is a trained warrior. They are modern day warrior, and they're the best, right? You could also say the same about a lot of our Army special operations and Marines and Air Force and everything else. They're just our best warriors, right? But warriors they need to be fit. It's a part of the job, but it's not the specialization, right? They even if they have a fitness class here or there tailored into it, that doesn't make them experts on fitness. And I think that's just something that needs to be taken into account. Now, I don't like to like just stop there. Like if you have somebody who like has that background, but then they also went and educated themselves and they know a lot, they might be an amazing person to talk to. But don't get enamored with these people who have some sort of background, because it doesn't necessarily mean they know what they're doing. And I've actually seen a lot more detriment than I have the big names out there who do this. They're probably fine, but I've seen a lot smaller where they just basically break people, don't realize what they're doing, and then their fitness careers don't last for a long time. So just, you got to know, members of the military, like obviously, as like basically everyone in our family is a veteran, a lot of respect there. So if you're coming at me, this is always what happens. They don't ever realize that I served, and my brother served, and my dad served, and my uncle served, and my grandpa served, and like everyone in my entire freaking family served. So I think I can come at it from a different angle of like, this is us. Don't think that we know what we're talking about unless we've done what we needed to do to, you know, really know this stuff. So just know that. 29, if you get serious about fitness, make sure you write stuff down. I think that you should, whether digitally or in a notebook or whatever, keep a record of what you're doing in fitness. I think that's really important. 30, in sports, listen to your coach. Never make it about yourself, and understand the importance of a team. I think right now, my boys are phenomenal at this, like phenomenal. As they listen to their coaches so well. They always are looking to get better. And then the thing that we've had to work on is making it about the team. And they're getting pretty good in that regard. Graham, who's my middle child, he's really, really good at soccer, like naturally good at soccer. And we've had to work on like all the ego side quite a bit. And he's, not even that old, because he was so much better. I feel like the gap has closed a little bit, but he was so much better than everyone else on his team, that it was easy for him to like kind of like get cocky about it. And we've had to work on that a lot, but now he understands it. And he passes when it's time to pass. And like, even if people make mistakes, he's very forgiving. And I hope to still foster these things in him, but I think all those things are really important. 31, don't drink skim milk. I don't drink milk at all anymore. I used to drink a lot of whole milk, but my body doesn't do too well with dairy. I think that probably still applies. Like, our kids drink whole milk, and I think that they should too. All right, 32, at 6 months old, you're crushing heads of broccoli. Keep up that habit when you're older. That's definitely not happening anymore. Yeah, I think 2 out of 3 of my kids liked vegetables when they were babies, and it was kind of odd. And then none of them really just enjoy vegetables anymore, but they'll all try them. And I think, I picked this up on a podcast when I was doing the Better Humanology podcast, is like, it's not our job as parents to like succeed in every situation. I don't think that it's our job to succeed in like me sitting down with my son right now and him eating broccoli and me eating broccoli. And if he doesn't want to, making him do it. But I think like having dinner and showing them this is what dinner looks like for 20 years of their life, 18 years of life, however long they're in my house, I think that's more important than anything else. So like showing them the vegetables and putting that on their plate over and over again, I think that will be really important. So if I was talking to my boys right now, I would just say, keep trying stuff. I know you guys don't always like it, but you try it, and I appreciate it. So keep it up. 33, drink more water than anything else every day. All my kids do this already because we basically have nothing else to drink in our house other than milk and water. So keep doing that. It's going to go work out really well for you. 34, skinny does not equal healthy. And then 34 and 35, skinny does not equal fit. And I do think this one's really important. And this is just for everybody like listening out there. So my kids, Emily and I, are very much into health and fitness, right? Like that's a huge priority, more so than probably any other family. Not to say that it's not important for you, but like I would say how our conversations. So let me erase that. It's important to all of us, but I'm saying how much we talk about it in front of our kids is probably 10x the average American family, or even people listening to this, just because it might not be what you do on a daily basis for work. And so that has actually been more of a challenge than it has been helpful for our children, because they pick up these little things, even if we're only talking to each other. And then I don't want to like get any complexes into their head. Like if they eat something and they ask me, will this make me fat? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like we don't even talk about this stuff, but then they piece these things together on their own. And they come up with these ideas. And so like we are attacking health and fitness from a different angle with our children. They're pretty good for the most part, but I hate it when they get worried about getting fat or something. And I never have even said that stuff to them before, So I don't want anybody in any of my kids to focus on skinny as a goal. Like, it doesn't mean you're healthy. It doesn't mean you're fit. Like, there are plenty of people who are just skinny, and the reason they're skinny is because they smoke a pack of cigarettes and they only drink alcohol. Like, there are lots of ways to be skinny, and it doesn't mean you're healthy. It doesn't mean you're fit, and it doesn't basically mean anything. Healthy is healthy. Skinny is whatever. Healthy is healthy. So don't ever focus on that being a goal. Don't worry too much about your weight. 36, 4-hour marathons are not a true test of fitness, rather an experiment in boredom and pain. So my point there was not to take a shot at marathons, which I will in the next bullet. But if you're running a marathon in, like, let's just say 4.5 hours, 5 hours, something like that, and I'm trying not to offend anybody here. You, that just sucks. Like, and I'm not talking about your time sucks, but like, that is a long time to be running, right? And like, more experienced runners are going sub 4, in the 3s. I think is a really a good marathon time. In the 2s is getting off the charts, right? Like, so anyway, if you're running a 5-hour marathon, you just kind of have to ask yourself, like, why am I doing this, and do I want to keep doing it? And that's, I'm not trying to offend anybody here, but like, that's a long time. Yeah, I'll just move on, because number 37 is, if you run a marathon in under 3 hours, you're running too much. And these are all kind of like a joke, taking shots at running to some degree. But like I said, running's important, but running too much, that comes with its own set of problems. And you're either going to be good at it or bad at it. You're going to have to decide which one of those are. If you want to run, I'd rather you be good at it. 38, try barefoot running at least once. And so the cool thing about barefoot running, and the reason I mention it in here, is because I used to get terrible shin splints, like really bad, to where running just wasn't fun for me. And I started running barefoot. It was actually like with barefoot shoes. I mean, I didn't even do it for that long. I think I did it for a few months, and I've never had a shin splint since. And this wasn't like I started fitness and then, like, it was a new thing and I got shin splints. I had been exercising regularly probably for like 10 years. And I just knew, if I'm running, I'm getting shin splints, especially if I do more than like one run a week, I would just get shin splints. And then I did barefoot running for a few months after 10 years of this like shin splint battle. And I've never had shin splints again, ever. Like, not even, like, I almost forgot about them. And so, yeah, try barefoot running. I think it's really helpful. 39, if you are injured, take time off. I think that's really important, that we all take time off if we get injured. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. So beyond that time off, work on it. As we've talked about in recent podcasts, the problem becomes a program. So just focus on it. If you get injured, all your time and attention goes there, and fix it. 40, if vanity is your only reason for working out, it won't last. And that's 100% true. I think everyone needs to know that. If you are just looking for a number on the scale, a 6-pack, set of abs, like whatever it is, if it's a vanity related reason, you're not going to be in the health and fitness game for very long. So go ahead and find a new reason now before things get worse. I think that one's really important. 41, never miss a practice, and I'll never miss a game. So that's just kind of a promise to my boys, on 2 parts. Like, I don't want to miss any games ever. Very important to me. I try to travel as little as possible so I can be around for their sports. And to this point, I don't think I have missed a game. And so actually, if I've missed a game, it's because they both have a game at the same time, and mom has to go to one and dad has to go to the other. So I think I have missed a game, but that was like the only one time it's ever happened. And we had a lot of conversations ahead of time, but that's neither here nor there. But the biggest part is never miss practice. Me missing a game, a little bit easier. Never missing a practice. Don't miss practices. Don't be that person who misses the practice, who shows up late. One thing that Graham is telling me all the time now, because I said it once, is on time is late and early is on time. I said that to him once when we got to soccer practice, like 15 minutes early, and no one was there. And I told him that, and he was like, "I like that," and he says it all the time. But that's who you want to be. Like, there's an unwritten rule in sports that I think everybody should know. Like, if you're the talent, um, you'll probably get to play no matter what, right? Like, you'll play if you're the talent on the team, but for the rest of us who probably aren't that like 1% of talent, we need to show the coach that we're serious in every other way. That's going to be effort on the field. That is going to be the showing up early and staying late. That's going to be never missing a practice, no matter what. Showing up to a game, even if you're sitting on the bench, never miss a practice and have that work ethic, and it will work out for you. And if it doesn't work out for you in sports, it will work out for you in other areas of life. All right, 42, beer is not a post-workout beverage. I don't even know why I wrote that, but it's clearly not. I think I have had a few beers as post-workout beverage. Bad habit to get into, but I don't think anybody realistically makes that a habit. So just kind of a funny one. 43, never feel inadequate or intimidated in the gym. When I was early on into fitness, I realized this about other people quite a bit. Even friends, like when I was getting into working out, they were more intimidated by the actual going to the gym and the people who were there, but they wanted to do the thing. They wanted to do it. They wanted to lift the weight. They wanted to run on the treadmill. They thought those things were cool. We were young and it was like, hey, that would be cool to do. But they didn't do it because they were intimidated by the other people who've been there doing it for like the last 10 years. And it's so unfortunate, but so true. And anyone listening to this, just ask yourself if you've ever been in that situation. And if you're a garage gym athlete now, that's great. But you've probably been in that situation before, to where like, I'll just do nothing because there are other people here. And, that's just a bad spot to be in, because what you're doing is you're not taking action on something because of somebody else who doesn't even care about you. They won't even think about you, so never let that happen in any area of your life, especially fitness. So all my friends who, like, when I started and I was willing to go through that uncomfortable, awkward phase of showing up and not knowing what the hell I was doing, all my friends who basically got scared because of some random person at the gym or felt intimidated, none of them are into fitness now. Like, they didn't decide to pick it up later, that hasn't happened for a single friend I have that I'm thinking about, that like who wanted to work out with me back then, or like whatever. It just didn't happen. It never happened. So like, it's the opportunity cost for not embracing those uncomfortable feelings is huge. And this can be in every arena of your life. This can be in starting a business. This can be at your career, in your job, being afraid to volunteer for something or speak up in a meeting, like all these things. If you're ever going to feel intimidated and not express the thoughts you have in your head, or, chase the desires you actually have, it's a huge, huge missed opportunity, way beyond the moment that you're selecting to do it. All right, 44. If you ever hit yourself with a barbell and you're still standing, just keep moving. Who hasn't done that? Hit myself with a barbell in the face, forehead, everywhere. You just got to keep moving, play it off, be cool. 45, strength training is very different from bodybuilding. I do think that people should know the difference. Bodybuilding is about muscle growth. Weight on the bar can be moderate, but it's not a necessity. It's not a prerequisite. And strength training is about pushing the human body to the limits of what it can lift. And the programming looks different, and the back end looks different. I think strength training is a little bit harder on your body, and I think bodybuilding is a little bit harder on your mind. They both have downfalls, and so it's striking that balance in the middle, right? So strength training, if you want to push that envelope, you will get hurt at some point. You will get hurt. And bodybuilding, if you do obsess over the size of your muscles and them looking a certain way, that can cause some psychological issues. And so you need to make sure you focus on combating that in the appropriate way. 46, learn to walk on your hands. It's just fun. And this goes back to what I was talking earlier about coordination, how I find coordination to be important, and having to focus on that. Even if like that was a dedicated day of your training, just like focus on balance and all these other things. It's not as much of a cardiovascular workout, obviously, but I mean, it helps a lot in your life. All right, 47. If you end up fitter than those around you, help them out. I think that's really important. If someone does feel inadequate or intimidated in a gym and you're the person who no longer does, invite them, have them come over, teach them something so they don't feel that way anymore. Definitely, if you've read my book, Killing Comfort, I talk about the aviate, navigate, communicate process. The communicate process is after you've kind of mastered the doing and the goals, it's time to help other humans. Like, don't just hold on to it for yourself. And that's almost in any arena there. 48 fewer ingredients, normally better. I still stick with that one. Quality food is important. Whole food's important. All super important stuff. 49, one from Babe Ruth. Yesterday's home runs don't win today's games. The only fitness that actually matters is what you currently possess. I think that's awesome. Awesome quote from Babe Ruth there. And I think that it's still true. I don't like has-beens. And it's okay if you've moved to a new area of your life. Like I can already see the transition in myself. Like, while I think I'm still capable, I don't know if I'll ever PR my deadlift again, but that's more of a choice than like I can't, right? But I'm still incredibly well-rounded in a lot of areas. And so sitting around talking about those things that you did once, let's focus on growth. Let's focus on what's next. So never rely on your past success to propel you forward. You just keep propelling yourself forward, and you just got to find new goals to chase, new games to play, because what you had accomplished, especially in health and fitness, there is no like, I've done all this work, let me cash in my chips. That's not how health and fitness work. Unfortunately, health and fitness is, I've done all this work and there's all this work left to do. And I have to keep just doing the work until the day I die. That's hard for people to wrap their brains around, but it's true. There's no cashing in your chips. The only benefit to health and fitness is living a better life while you're here. Like, that's it. You have more energy. You can do cooler things. You're not limited. You later down the road, you're healthier, right? There are a lot of things that you're doing it for. And you just got to keep doing the work always. 50, lift an odd object every once in a while. I think that's fun, just to learn how to lift stones and logs and tires and all this other stuff. Great for functional fitness. And then the last one, number 51, strong people are harder to kill than weak people and more useful in general. So that is a Mark Ripto quote. And a lot of people always wonder where the hard to kill came from. And that was kind of it. I have more explanation of that on other YouTube videos and stuff, and where I really started to use it goes back to my military background. But yeah, be strong, be useful, and that's about it. So I kind of went through this list, thinking about trying to, what would I change, and not a lot of it, to be honest. There's like, I've added the caveats and little things to think about, but I think it's a solid list. And as a parent, it just makes me realize I still have a lot of work to do, right? Like, if I want them to like know all these things, I still have a lot of work to do to keep them focused on what's important in life and what they should be focused on. And for everyone listening out there, I hope that you got something out of this. I'd love your feedback on this type of episode. Not that I'm looking to change the podcast or do something different moving forward, but occasionally looking back at things, seeing what I've changed my mind on, and trying to help everyone in a different way, I think is something that would be fun to do. So any feedback you got, if you are part of the community, I really do appreciate you guys for everything that you're doing. And if you're listening to this, somehow you made it to the end of all 51 of those, and you like what you're hearing, definitely go to garagegymathlete.com, sign up for a 14-day free trial. And you can kind of see what a lot of these ideas put into practice look like. But that's it for this one, guys. Remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Gym Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.